we talked about the Jonathan Huberdeau contract. I want to mention a couple recent articles in The Athletic by Dom Luszczyszyn,
who everybody loves. Everybody loves Dom Luszczyszyn.
Oh, everyone loves Dom Luszczyszyn on Twitter. You know what? Shout out to Dom Luszczyszyn. We really like you here on the GFP podcast because we think you're a smart guy. We don't think that you just stare at spreadsheets all day. We know you really like hockey and you don't only look at stats. You're an eye test guy. You're a stats guy. You're a smart hockey guy. All right. There's a lot of people on Twitter who don't view him in the same light because he posts something and they just immediately get mad at it because they don't agree with numbers that are black and white.
Yeah.
Numbers don't lie, people.
Yeah.
They just don't. All right. So anyway, he came out with a couple articles ranking the 10 best contracts in the NHL and the 10 worst contracts in the NHL.
Ooh.
So starting Lepore with the 10 best contracts, okay?
Okay. Let's see if can I try to guess them?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
That's kind of fun. Well, McKinnon's got to be there. That's one.
Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah, he's got to be
scan through the top 10 contracts in the NHL, according to Dom Luszczyszyn, Nathan McKinnon, Lepore, is not on the list.
What? That seems almost like impossible.
He is not on the list. There is
I'm 0 for 1. I'm done. Sudden death overtime. I'm out. I'm like, oh, the slam dunk. Yeah, wrong. Let's see if I can go. Is there Pasternak? Pasternak's good. Pasternak.
He's not on the list either, Lepore.
Okay, I'm gonna give up. You just say the list.
All right, the 10 best contracts. You were close. There's another Colorado Avalanche on this list, and he tops the list. Number 1, the best contract in the NHL, according to Dom Luszczyszyn, is Cale Makar.
Wait, sorry. Does he do it based on? I'm gonna kind of defend myself here. I wonder if he does it based on the total. How do I put this? Like the total value of that player based on what he's making, or like the gap of like what he should be making. You know what I'm trying to say? And I guess contract wise, he's probably doing it like a term thing too. Like saying like Cale Makar is signed now. And at that number, like that's ridiculously amazing. Whereas say a player on a shorter deal who's on, who's coming up and who's a star, performing way better than he's paid may not show as well. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, you're essentially on the right page there. It's basically looking at like contract efficiency, how much value do they add?
Right.
In terms of what they're getting paid, how many years, all that stuff, right? And he has Cale Makar at number 1 because Cale Makar should probably be making like $16 million a year
fucking
if
alien.
This wasn't a cap league.
Yeah.
And he was arguably, okay, the best player really in the league last year. And I know Connor McDavid was outrageous, but I mean, Cale Makar, based on what he did, winning the Norris,
you're forgetting about someone, Anthony Bruno.
Winning the Stanley Cup.
You're forgetting about someone, Anthony Bruno. We're a Leafs podcast.
Oh, of course. I got to bring up number 34, Austin Matthews. Don't want to forget about him. But Cale Makar was incredible this season. So he's number 1. Number 2 on the list is another defenseman, Charlie McAvoy of the Boston Bruins.
Okay.
Connor McDavid at 3, Brad Marchand at 4, Johnny Gaudreau at 5, Roman Josi at 6, Adam Fox at 7. So a lot of D-men. Austin Matthews, number 8.
Let's go.
On this list. And rounding out the top 10, Miro Heiskanen and Kirill Kaprizov.
Kaprizov, really? Okay. I'm surprised at that one. Not that I think it's a bad contract, but it's like total metrics.
So your thoughts on Matthews being listed 8th on this list?
I'm not surprised. And that's simply because it seems like whenever they do these lists, these guys see it as a top heavy league where the stars really carry the teams. And in terms of value, it's that whole thing of like, well, the star player, you can't just replace the guy who is like lesser, like a lesser piece in the lineup is easier to replace. And you can get it's easy to get value lower. If a guy's $4 million, I'll put it this way. Austin Matthews at 11.65 million. You're not going to get, let's say you drop to like 7 or 8 million. Like the gap is huge. Like that's a huge gap in player. Whereas once you get lower, say like 3 million to 4 million, well, the $3 million player might be worth more than the $4 or $5 million player. And that's percent. I'm doing it like based on percentage, right? Like that's still, if you're going like 50%, 40% increases even. So I'm not surprised that Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, for that matter, I'm pretty sure on the list last year, he may have had McDavid as the best contract in the league.
Oh yeah, especially coming off that season where he had 104 points in 56 games. Just the surplus value added, as Dom likes to refer to it, was just through the roof. Because if you actually look at what McDavid was worth last season on the open market, and it hasn't really changed, after this past season, he's almost worth like double his current contract.
Okay.
Same with Austin Matthews and these other top guys. I'm not surprised where Matthews is either. Like when you're making that much money, it's not just good enough to have like a point per game season or to score 40 goals. If you're Austin Matthews, like you really have to bring it. You have to elevate your game that much more to be considered to actually be of value. And not saying that Matthews isn't valuable if he has like an 80-point season with 40 goals, but when he scores 55 to 60 and gets to 100 points, that just takes him to the next level when you're looking at like the value of these contracts, right? So yeah, I mean, Matthews is at 8, to no surprise. I mean, it's hard to argue that he isn't a top 10 contract in the league.